If I ask you to name an Italian bike brand, you'll likely give me Pinarello, Campagnolo, Villia, Bianchi perhaps, probably not Basso. And while this company, founded in the late 1970s, doesn't have the heritage of those other bike brands, it definitely has the pedigree. And here's the thing, while those other Italian bike brands have for the most part moved the majority of their frame manufacturing overseas in the last couple of decades, Basso hasn't. They make this frame in Italy, and for many people that is a real unique selling point. So this is a Diamante, their pure race bike, all about speed, as fast as it looks stood here. And in this video, we'll go through the frame details, we'll go for a spin, and I'll give my verdict at the end of the video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It means a lot to me and it helps me get access to bikes like these, so click that red button down below. Okay, let's dive in. So this is a Diamante, which sits one level down below their flagship Diamante SV. This is available with rim brakes or disc brakes, as we have here. And it's a bike that's all about speed. It's a pure race-focused bike. So we have a full carbon frame and fork made in Italy, remember, with aerodynamic features from the profiling of the down tube, the seat tube, and the seat post. And because frame stiffness is really important to how a race bike responds and rides, and it's one bit of feedback that pros always give bike brands. I love this bike, but can you make it a bit stiffer, please? And you can see how the frame has been beefed up in key areas, with a big oversized press fit bottom bracket, these really chunky chainstays, big down tube, big swoopy carbon fork as well, and an oversized head tube. And to validate the stiffness of the frame, Basso has developed its own testing procedure, which I'll flash up on the screen now, and reminds us of the stiffness value on the head tube and the bottom bracket, which unfortunately is kind of meaningless on its own because there's no standard in the industry for testing frame stiffness. So how it compares to other frames is kind of difficult to quantify using this data. It'd be great if there was a standard for testing stiffness, as well as aerodynamics and weight and other key factors, but it isn't. But we can talk about stiffness in the ride section of this video later on. The bike I've got here, and which I've been riding for the last few weeks, is a team specification, and it retails for £6,600 here in the UK. There are other deals available. You can buy the frame set on its own as well, so plenty of options depending on your budget and preference when it comes to components and equipment. So this bike is equipped with a Campagnolo Chorus 12-speed group set with mechanical gear changes and hydraulic disc brakes. And essentially, you're getting a lot of the technology, the 12-speed gear ratios, and a lot of the carbon fibre tech from the Record and Super Record group sets above it. And if you haven't seen my review of the Super Record EPS disc brake group set, that's linked above. So that's right at the tippity top of the Campagnolo range. But Chorus offers lots of performance and functionality of their group sets at a lower price. That Italian theme continues with the Deda wheels and the Deda DNA handlebar and the Prologo saddle. And then we have some Schwalbe Pro 1 tubular tyres, which are labelled as 30mm, but actually measure 28 on these rims. But you probably couldn't go much wider than this. A little bit tight down at the bottom bracket, just due to how chunky, fat those chainstays are behind the bottom bracket junction. On the scales, this size 56 comes in at just under 8 kilograms without pedals, which is probably heavier than it needs to be at this price and for this level of equipment, and compared to some other bikes I've ridden like that Campagnolo, that Villia and the Bianchi recently as well. But we'll talk about the weight more later. It's probably one of the sexiest road bikes I've had to review on my channel since I launched it last year. All swoopy carbon curves, and I love this pearlescent paint job that really sparkles in the sunlight today. Nice graphic treatment as well, and all the equipment on the bike really sets it off nicely. The real standout feature on this bike, which you've probably already spotted by now, is the cutout in the head tube, top tube junction. Gives a really aggressive slam look, but but thankfully there's a few spaces there so my back isn't having too hard a time adopting the aggressive position this bike gives. So that's all about the race focus of this bike, putting you in that nice aero, elbows in, really attacking position when you're racing, because this bike is all about racing, all riding as fast as you can at all times. It's not a bike for riding slowly and admiring the view. It's for staring at your stem, your power meter, the wheel in front, and really going hammer and tongs. Now it's sort of an optical illusion because the stack on this size 56 is actually 10mm taller than an equivalent Specialized Tarmac SL7. So not actually super slammed. And it's nice that you can fit spaces if you want, but you can remove those and go even lower. Now it's a distinctive feature and I'm in two minds about whether I like it or not, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below. Part of me feels it should be taken even further and fit the stem flush with the top tube, sort of like the Look race bikes from a few years ago. And I'm not sure about that sharp edge, that shelf for the carbon fibre. So I'm not too sure, to be honest, but let me know down below. And internal versus external cable routing is a divisive matter at the moment. And we have external cable routing here, which on this bike, I think it probably needs to be internal, like it is on the range topping Diamante SV, which is full internal. Since we've got a nice aero handlebar and stem, aero frame, it seems a shame they haven't put the cables and hoses inside. And there is a risk on the non-drive side of the cables rubbing on the head tube. So a bit of protective tape on the head tube just to prevent that lovely paint job from being worn away would be advisable. As I mentioned, this bike comes with a choice of rim or disc brakes, so you can have it either way, whatever you like. This one, disc brakes, as you can see, with 12mm through axles front and rear and flat mount calipers, and the hoses are internally routed inside the fork and the frame as well. Let's get stuck into how this Basso Diamante rides then. And well, it's an interesting one, I'll be honest with you, and quite difficult to put into words to articulate how the bike rides, because it's not what you might expect. Now clearly it's a fast bike. It looks fast and it is fast on the road. The data from my Wahoo and power meter pedals tell me this is a fast bike on my local, very well trodden roads. But here's the thing, it doesn't feel that quick. And I think it's because you've got wide tyres at low pressures and that elastomer wrap seat post, which combined really isolates you from lots of the feedback you normally get when riding along a rough road. Basso talks quite a lot about the stiffness of the frame and provides data on its website. I talked about it earlier. And you can really feel that on my local undulating Cotswolds roads. Granted, I'm not the heaviest or most powerful rider in the world, and I can't detect any flex or twist underneath me from the frame at all. It just feels punchy, really is the best word to describe how the bike feels. And normally you'd expect with a stiff carbon fibre aero race bike, it would batter you on these rough roads. And that's normally the case. But this bike really doesn't. So it feels really calm, unflustered, and quite serene on my local roads. But be no doubt, it's a fast bike, very, very fast indeed. It just doesn't feel kind of electric, fizzy and lively like some aero race bikes do. This bike isn't that lightweight, and it does show on some of my steeper gradients that I like to test my legs and bikes on. And compared to some other bikes I recently reviewed, it does carry quite a weight penalty. Now, weight isn't everything, I always hasten to add that. And if you're riding in the mountains and riding uphill all day, this probably isn't the best choice for you. But if you want a bike that has that punchy character, that's great on rolling roads with lots of undulations and sweeping corners, high speed sections, and you want that stiffness and that really kind of planted handling, then this bike is a great choice. For racing, for high speed riding, this bike really does perform impressively well. So let's start wrapping up this review with some likes and dislikes about the bike after quite a few weeks of riding the bike. So some dislikes first. The weight is a factor. Now weight isn't everything of course, and this is an aerodynamic frame, but on steeper climbs you can feel the weight holding you back a bit, Not so bad on rolling terrain with punchy climbs where the frame stiffness really helps you out. But at this price and this level in the market, it's fair to say you'd expect a lighter frame, a lighter bike. And compared to some other Italian bikes I've ridden recently, like the Villiers, the Bianchi, that Campagnolo recently as well, they're all between a kilo or half a kilo lighter than this, so it does need to be quite a bit lighter. Some other dislikes, personal dislikes as well. I'm not really a fan of the Deda DNA handlebar. It's a nice shape, but I just don't like the look of it from a visual point of view. And it's a real shame the cables aren't inside the handlebar and the stem and the head tube for a really clean, minimal look, and also to prevent the hoses rubbing on the head tube, which would concern me long term. But some likes, and well, it's a stunning bike to look at. One of the sexiest road bikes I've had to test in quite a while. I love the paint job, the pearlescent paint job looks stunning. Nice pareback graphics. I like the general swoopiness and the curves of all the tubes. The fork blade is nice and chunky, nice down tube, how it flows into the bottom bracket. And we have no drop rear stays as well, and a fairly level top tube. So an elegant and fast looking bike. Now we have this standout feature, the cutout in head tube. So if you want a reasonably slammed front end without being super aggressive, you can get that by adding a few spacers, and you still get that sort of slam look, because I know some people love a slam look. Let me know in the comment section down below if you slam or not. The equipment on this bike was all pretty good as well. I really like the Chorus group set. Nice to get a lower level Campagnolo group set to ride. The mechanical shifting is fast and precise. I love the feel of these hydraulic disc brakes. I'll do a more in-depth review on a group set in a future video, so make sure you tune in for that. Then we got Schwalbe Pro 1 tyres. It's a shame they're not actually 30mm wide, so the rims aren't wide enough to give them the full kind of 30mm width. They measure at 28. But probably a good thing because the clearance around the back is a little bit tight, so there isn't much more space for going wider. The tube is good, the wheels feel fast, nice and stiff as well. And I really like the new Prologo scratch saddle with a very unique CPC coating, these small dimples that keep you planted on the saddle, stop you squirming around when you're on the rivet and you're giving out a few hundred watts trying to keep up with the rider in front. So it works well. So all things considered, it's a really nice bike. It rides really nice, it's fast, it's smooth and great handling. Very aggressive, race-focused bike of course, but with disc brakes, wide tube of tyres, rein that in a little bit for real-world, non-racing riding. Looks stunning, a bit heavy perhaps, but ignore the weight, and it's a really nice riding bike. And of course, it's made in Italy, which many Italian bikes aren't. And for many people watching this, I know that will be a key factor in their buying decision when they're choosing a new bike. Anyway, that's all for now. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. It means a lot to me, it helps grow the channel and gives me more access to bikes like these to share with you, which is all good. And if you've got any questions, put them down below. But that really is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again next time. What a nice day for a bike ride. And let me tell you, it's not easy filming in this extreme heat. Just not used to the heat. So hot, so hot. Just sweating buckets, but I mustn't grumble. We wait all winter for weather like this and then complain when it finally arrives. Anyway,